It's been a while since I've done an update. I think I probably have some videos that I haven't uploaded yet, but I've just been so busy I haven't gone through them. Um, but I wanted to come on here, share just a little bit about what's going on in my life right now. This is the year 2024, approaching March, and it's it's a it's a difficult time right now in a lot of ways. So we are approaching 3 years since my husband passed away. He passed away in March 2021. And as of right now, I'm just a couple of weeks away from March, and about a month away from the anniversary of his death. Anniversaries of his death are always, so I won't say that the day that he died is tough for me. I know for some people it is, but for me it hasn't been. Probably because I choose on those days not to spend the day thinking about it, and not to, if it's a work day, I go ahead and go to work and, try to just stay focused on normal routine. But it's like the weeks leading up to it that are always so tough for me, because I'm thinking about not just his death, but everything surrounding it. Like thinking through all the hospital trips and the last conversations, and those things are just kind of like overwhelming me as we approach the anniversary of his death. March is also his birth month. So, there's the mixture of, I'm thinking about the fact that I should be planning a birthday celebration for him. And this year would have actually been a special birthday, so it would have been an even bigger celebration than normal. And so I'm thinking about, I should be planning that, but instead I'm like reliving in my heart those final hours of his life and how hard that is. So it's kind of an emotional roller coaster during the couple of months prior to the anniversary of his death. And then this year, there's also not only the fact that it was supposed to be a special birthday for him, but if you know anything about my story, and you may not know anything about me, so my husband and I, we were in ministry. I'll say we were in full-time ministry, but financially we couldn't just do full-time ministry. My husband put in all the hours for full-time ministry, but he also worked for many years full-time at a secular job. We did eventually get to the point where he was able to go part-time with his secular job, but he was still having to put in about 20 hours each week with that. And so we had a goal that we were going, and actually just probably a couple of months before he passed away, we had sat down with the numbers and looked at different bills, and I was like, okay, I think we can, reduce these, and I think we can do this and do that. And so 2024 was our goal, that if not before then, which we were still believing that even before then, maybe it could happen, but if not before, that 2024 would be the year that he would be able to finally quit his secular job and work full-time ministry, and that be all that he does. And so we were excited about that, because he loved, obviously, the ministry work, and often, struggled between getting the things done he wanted to get done for ministry with the fact that he still has secular work to do. And so looking forward to that stage of life coming was definitely something he looked forward to. And so for me, dealing with, okay, it's time for a special birthday, but instead it's the anniversary of his death. And then we were also supposed to make some big changes in our life this year, but instead I had to make big changes in my life 3 years ago. That meant he was gone. And so it's emotional. So all that, has been interesting enough for me as it is. But then it got even crazier because 3 weeks ago, which 3 weeks ago I was already thinking about. This is the anniversary coming up of my husband's death, and I was already starting to deal with those emotions, already, you know, having those nights where I was starting to feel that overwhelming pain again. And then my brother, who is a little bit older than me, but way too young to be dying, ended up in the hospital with pneumonia. And at first I didn't, you know, think a lot about it. It was like, okay, pneumonia is usually curable. Then they decided they had to do surgery. At that point, I started to get a little bit concerned. A week after he was in the hospital, they did surgery. Ended up having to take out a lung, and it just spiraled down from that point. He ended up in intensive care, completely sedated, on a lot of machinery, and it was like everything was just kind of replaying everything I went through with my husband. And so I'm like watching these things unfold. I'm hearing the things the doctor's saying. I'm seeing the equipment they bringing in. I see my brother hooked up and looking so much like my husband was when he was all hooked up to things. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, not again. And of course, I begged God through all that. I was like, God, please, please don't let this happen, because for many reasons. Many reasons, but you know, anyway, so a week ago, before I'm doing this recording, my brother passed on. And I will say, you know, it's kind of weird for me as far as my emotions, as far as what I'm feeling. There's sadness in a lot of ways, the fact that I lost my brother, but in a lot of ways, there's more sadness for me for his wife, because I look at her and I remember, I remember, so here at the hospital, as we were standing over his body, right after he passed away, I mean, I just looked at his wife, and all I could do was cry, because all I could think was, oh my goodness, that's me. And I'm thinking, that's me 3 years ago. That was me sitting there beside the body and everything. And, you know, and I absolutely hate it for her. Like, I'm sad for me, but I hate it for her, because I know how bad it is. And I know that her journey is just starting. Here I am 3 years later from the death of my husband, and I'm still dealing with heartache. I'm still dealing with grief. I still have nights that I wake up crying. You know, is it better? Yeah, but in a lot of ways, it's still so hard. And it's still a reality that every day he's not there. And so I just looked at her, and I mean, I was just crushed for her. I was crushed for her, that this is now her journey too, that she would now go through this as well. And so, and then of course, it also, you know, brought all back the fact that my husband's gone. And it's like, you know, so I'm sad over losing my brother, but more than anything else, I'm sad that there's another widow, and that I'm still a widow. And so, you know, it's just kind of been overwhelming. So here we are, 3 weeks, about 3 or 4 weeks till the anniversary of my husband's death. And let's just say it's been a roller coaster. It's been a roller coaster. And I'm looking at March, and I'm like, oh, there's going to be a lot of good things in March. I have 2 kids that have birthdays in March. We celebrate the resurrection of our Lord and Savior in March. And for us, that also means enjoying camp meeting celebrations at Jimmy Swaggart Ministries, the church that we're affiliated with. And so a lot of good things will be happening in March. But just like at the same time, my heart is going to be like just up and down with emotions. And you know, it's just going to be interesting. But I will say this: God's grace is sufficient. That has been my my theme, my motto since my husband passed away. God's grace is sufficient. He was there with me, all there in the beginning, and he continues to be here with me, and he'll continue to be here with me. So I don't know really what to expect in March, except I know, like, I know a little bit, but I know God will be there every step of the way with me. So that's kind of update where I'm at right now. It's been a tough month emotionally, headed into another tough month. But again, just to reiterate, God's grace is sufficient. I don't want to sound like I'm going into March and it's just going to be, oh, poor Nikki, she's suffering the whole month, because I've got a lot of good things coming up in March that I'm looking forward to as well. And God, I know God has been moving at church. I know he's going to keep moving at church. And, oh, I thank God for how his spirit moves so mightily. And I'm thankful for all that he's doing in my life. I'm thankful for what he's doing in my kids' lives. But I always, understanding that, honestly, my life's complicated, going between all the joys, but also still dealing with the grief that's there. And so it can be complicated, but God's good. God's still good. So in closing, if you could keep my sister-in-law in prayer, actually keep my whole family in prayer. He had sons. My mother is the only living parent still, but she's going to be dealing with it. I have another brother who's probably taking it a little bit harder even than I am. And so there's a lot of people who are hurting, who are grieving over the loss of my brother. But my heart especially goes to his wife. So if you know the Lord, I ask that you do just lift her up in prayer. And it's not something we want. I want to see people experience the loss of their spouse. But the fact is, it's something that people are experiencing every day. And it's a hard journey. It's a hard journey. Again, 3 years, and it's a hard journey. Well, that's all I'm going to say for today. I'll be back.